In the years before the American Revolution, the British East India Company had a problem. Too much tea and not enough buyers. Enter King George III with a bold plan. Create a monopoly, flood the colonies with surplus tea, and undercut the smugglers who kept colonial markets thriving. What he didn't count on was the resilience and defiance of the colonists. They didn't need cheap tea, they already had it, thanks to their smuggling networks. The Crown's ploy backfired spectacularly, setting off a chain of events that led to the Boston Massacre. Before I go any further, let's stop right here, rewind things back, and tell the story from the beginning. Alright, so the British East India Company, a big tea company only licensed to sell in Britain before 1773, suddenly faces a very good problem. In the early 1770s, all of a sudden, they had an overflow of crop production in tea leaves, which was way more than usual, and they were excited by this until they realized they've got nowhere to put it all. Their warehouses are overflowing, and with tea practically stacked to the rafters, they're looking at a crisis. Now, tea doesn't age like wine. Let it sit too long in those damp warehouses and it'll get moldy, stale, even ruined. They've got to move it or lose it. So the company takes their tea troubles to Parliament in 1773. Hey Parliament, can you help us out? Parliament's like, alright, we see an opportunity here. Their big idea? Let's open up the North American colonies for British East India Company tea. The colonists can get it super cheap, maybe 10 cents on the dollar. Not literally, but you get the point, and it's a win-win-win situation. The company makes a little cash instead of taking a total loss. Parliament gets the Townshend duties on each shipment, and even after adding the tax, the tea is still so cheap that colonists won't even care. It'll be a bargain for them, so everybody's happy. Right? Well, not exactly. There's one group that isn't thrilled, the smugglers. Since the Townshend Acts slapped duties on tea, American smugglers had been bringing in tea from the Dutch East Indies, making a pretty penny. Now, with British East India tea flooding the market at rock-bottom prices, these smugglers stand to lose big, but smugglers aren't the only ones who feel like they're getting tricked. The colonists look at this deal and see something fishy. In their eyes, it's a British scheme to crush local smugglers, forcing everyone to buy British tea. And just wait, their sure prices will go right back up once British tea has a monopoly. They see this as a bait and switch, a setup, a Trojan horse of tea. So how did the colonists respond? Well, 1773 rolls around and they're angry like, oh, you're forcing us to drink this cheap tea? Violence breaks out. They're back to tarring and feathering customs collectors, just like during the Townshend Acts of 1767. And there's a story, maybe more legend than fact, that colonists boiled up tea, forced duty collectors to drink it, a sort of revenge tea party of its own. From the British standpoint, they couldn't figure out why the spoiled brats in the colonies didn't just buy the cheap tea and be happy. What they didn't realize at the time was that it was cutting into the income of smugglers. Smuggling was a way to help the colonists make ends meet, kind of like a side hustle. To get the full story, watch Part 4 of the America Begins series.
Took our stand in this untamed promised land. With the drum beats in our hearts, we chased away the dark.